Good evening, take two. Welcome to SanAntonio FC Fancast. Like our beloved San Antonio FC, had a error on the opening here. Sorry we missed last week. That was on me. Had work. Game was Sunday. Had some family issues popped up unexpectedly. Work was super crazy unexpectedly. Just didn't get it scheduled for that here. And I think you saw with our Saturday morning show where it was Saturday mid morning as Matt's showing everybody his legs. Do it here on live TV. So good job, Matt.
Welcome.
Jonathan, normally we ask Rafa this, but I don't see bunk beds behind you. So where in the blue moon are you?
Wichita, Kansas.
Moon. Hold on, bluish moon. There we go.
Wichita, Kansas today. It's crazy when you think about 24 hours ago, I was in the press box at Toyota Field, and today we have made most of the trip up to Omaha for the Open Cup game. So that's where I'm at.
Rafa, how are you? Are you out and about anywhere?
Oh no, you can see here in the background here at home. So not hitting the road anytime soon. Maybe this weekend we'll see. Go celebrate a birthday.
And then good old Matt.
What's that?
Where in the blue moon are you? Or bluish moon, pardon me.
My room? They ain't going nowhere else. I'm staying in my room.
So we got a lot to get back to. Royce is in Vegas, so you know what that means. When Royce is away, the kids will play. For that here, Sam, good evening. What's up, fellas? We here a little late, but we have arrived. Well, we're always a little bit late too, so for that here. So what the hell? 2-game losing skid, no panic time. It's time for concerns, I guess you would say, right? I would think here. Transaction news, we want to start with that. Jonathan, you want to go over how Coach was named Coach of the Month?
Yeah, it feels even weirder after last night's match and what happened. But Carlos Llamosa named USL Championship Coach of the Month for March. Four wins, no draws, no losses, perfect record. Pretty good way to start your head coaching career. And predictably, he kind of gives credit to the team, the rest of the coaching staff. This kind of certainly SAFC, but even just a lot of teams will kind of use that. They understand. You could say maybe, okay, it's cliche, it's rhetorical, but it is true that a coach on their own is not going to be creating that success. They're just in charge of kind of being the mastermind, the puppet master, the orchestrator of all of it. But it takes a solid coaching staff. It takes the players executing it. And that's what happened for SAFC the first 4 matches. And so he gets that honor.
I would have said when the award was given out, well-deserved, and true, it's well-deserved. If you had told me that we were facing Phoenix at Toyota Field on a nationally televised game and following it up with the Miami FC, I would have said, hey, easy wins. Well, I guess I shouldn't say easy wins, but I would have said comfortable wins for that here. It has
Likely
been
wins.
anything. Yeah, likely wins. It has been anything but but that here as San Antonio FC goes 0 for 2 in a 3-game home stretch against, at the time, 2 teams at the bottom of the standings. For that, each team that had not won a game at this time here. Let me just see here. See if Lance. Let me see if he's able to come on. Lance, are you there? Lance? All right, so he's not there.
Maybe something there.
There's something.
So I think Lance is trying to connect. I saw him, and then he went away here. So we'll kind of get into the. Hold on, let me set this back up. There we go. So against Phoenix Rising, lineup was Juan, Agudelo, Luke, Jake, Jorge, Lucio Barron gets his first start, Amir Soto, Juan Asario, Jimmy, Alexis filling in for Tainter, Alex, and Richard Sanchez on the bench, Nelson Flores Blanco, Buckmaster, Nikki, Pacheco, Andres Paderes, and Alex Grieve. They came out in a starting lineup of, according to SAFC, a 3-5-2 with Agudelo and Hackinson, Lacava, Hernandez, Barone, Soto, Osorio, Madranda, Sohe, and Cernali with Sanchez here. Any thoughts on the initial lineup?
That shit show started.
Huh?
That shit show started. I thought Juan was subbed in. I didn't know he started.
Against Phoenix.
It was against
Oh,
Phoenix.
okay, I was like, oh shit. Okay, my bad.
He was out against.
Well, the big difference, the big
Somebody's
difference in
drinking
this
a
one,
little too much right now.
yeah,
a little bit.
someone had the bourbon beer, but the lineup in here, like I said, I think the big factor was not having Tainer back there, so they went to the 3 back. I was a little surprised that Agudelo was going to start, knowing that with Phoenix, the red cards they had, the injuries. Yeah, we kind of thought we are going to have a really aggressive lineup up top to go after them, and this is more of a conservative lineup up top instead of kind of going after, really going after them. And in the end, like I said, it came back to bite us in the butt, as far as defending wise and not going after their defense. So yeah, I was a little surprised, seeing this formation and seeing the couple of the players there that were starting, especially Agudelo up top.
See, someone had actually asked me at the tailgate yesterday before the Miami match, sort of why did Agudelo start against Phoenix? My guess was honestly that Yamosa kind of wanted a bigger, more physical presence, ideally to keep the center backs and the defense a little more occupied, to kind of draw some of the heat from a few of the other attacking players that could maybe make runs in behind or something. It didn't really work out that way. Agudelo didn't necessarily seem to occupy the defense if that was the intention. So tried, swing and a miss, I guess. But I don't think it was necessarily a conservative thought. I think, again, that may have just been the thinking, was let's let his physical presence occupy the defense, and it didn't quite work out.
And let me test Lance. Are you back? Oh, no, he's not. Right.
That's not.
He keeps hopping on and hopping off. For that here. So. We'll see if he hops back on. Matt, any thoughts on the lineup outside of not being able to keep track of what week we're on?
Hey, I mean, we're not. It's not wrong. It just looks slow. The top looks slow. I just wouldn't expect it to be that kind of conserved. But I mean, what more can you say? I thought you were a little bit more aggressive.
We saw it was slow. So, as everybody knows, the game was 2-1. RXG was 1.54. Risings was 1.38. They got 2 goals quickly in the second half. For that here, I think Jonathan has the time.
The exact minutes, yes.
61st
minute. Yes, in the 61st minute, you have a penalty awarded to Phoenix for a Jimmy Madranda handball in the box. There was some debate about that. I don't know if we want to get into that or if we want to just let it be water under the bridge. Disagree, but okay. I mean, it hits his arm like sticking up in the air. It's not like it's his planting arm.
His arm was down like this.
No, but it's like he's got sort of his arm. I don't know how well this is showing, but he's got the upper arm, yes, kind of flush against his body, but the forearm is sticking out and it hits the forearm. That's a pretty obvious handball. I don't know how many times you went back and rewatched that, but I think that's pretty obvious to me.
I don't think it was, but I'm not. It's
Take off your
I'm not
SAFC
gonna
tinted
argue.
glasses
No,
and give an objective
this
judgment.
isn't the
there.
Striker, Texas, buddy. You know, where we got to be objective here.
I mean, was he? I mean, the debate's going to be: was he in a natural or unnatural position on that shot? You know, and that was to the discretion of the official. I mean, if we had VAR, maybe it changes his. Who knows? Like I said, bottom line, like I said, being in USL, he's going to have the final call on that. Wasn't popular, but I mean, it is what it is. And like I said, they were able to convert on that one.
And they do
Anyway.
score the PK.
Yeah, Remy Cabral steps up, converts pretty easily. And then 4 minutes later, the Phoenix goalkeeper, for some reason, I didn't actually replace that with his name, sort of flails about as Jake LaCava is trying to latch onto a ball in the box. Doesn't get the ball, just ends up taking out LaCava. So it's PK to SAFC there. Jorge Hernandez converts, and so you think, okay, you know what? This is level again. SAFC just scored the goal. They've got the momentum. And 2 minutes later, Phoenix is able to sort of advance up the center of the field. And maybe this is kind of what happens if you've got a bit of a lighter crew in that center midfield there. And it comes to Margarita on the right side of the box, and he's able to finish from a pretty tight angle, smashes it into the roof past Sanchez. He's not able to get his hands up in time. And so Phoenix has the lead again and holds on to it for the rest of the match. We're not doing highlights or anything. There was an incident in the 3rd minute of stoppage time that I went ahead and noted here. Everyone was sort of clamming for SAFC to have advantage played. They sort of played the ball through despite a foul. It was pulled back. There's a lot of complaints about that, but it looked like it was a head injury. By the letter of the law, yeah, the referee's supposed to pull that back. I mean, he's doing exactly what he's supposed to there. Exactly what he's supposed to.
Well, he was doing it because I actually had the ability to talk with the announcers after the game, and from the position of the referee, it looked like it was. But you know, if the referee would have been in the right position, because that's where he's, you know, the announcer was saying that he wasn't in the right position of where he should have been to be able to see the play correctly. If he would have been in the right position, they would have continued with the play for here. It's unlucky along those lines here. Let me just touch on some comments before we get too buried. Good afternoon or good evening, Boston. Mario 918. What's up, guys? Tough losses for both our teams. Boston does the outsider Green Country Sausage Podcast for FC Tulsa. So yeah, it's been a rough couple of weeks for us. Robert, good evening for right here. And Sam on the PK. Arm out, yeah. Natural motion, yeah. I don't know how anyone falls at attention. So, but I just, to me, to kind of wrap up on the Rising match, because we do have another one to go to here. Rising ended up with 8 shots, 4 on target. We had 14 shots, 5 on target. Just you could tell it wasn't the it wasn't the result. Phoenix got us once again. If anybody pays attention, Phoenix and San Antonio is always a great match. Typically, it's close, except in Phoenix, where it's either a San Antonio win or a blowout. The one thing that Jonathan didn't have in the notes here is this, and this is courtesy of Carter Kirschner, Beyond the 90. The USL show also posted this. USL scores record numbers. San Antonio versus Phoenix Rising on Big CBS drew an average of 440,000 with a peak of 760,000 in San Antonio for that here. So while the result wasn't what we want, I thought the game day experience, starting with the tailgates, and Matt and Rafa can kind of comment on that. I thought the crowd was outstanding for a 3 o'clock Sunday game with everything that was going on, or Jonathan said nothing was going on in town on that weekend. So, but I thought the weekend itself was a big success for San Antonio FC or San Antonio and San Antonio FC. I thought we showed up well. I didn't really hear about any problems in stadium either. As far as like concessions, sometimes you hear with the big crowd. Oh, Matt's got one, evidently. I hadn't heard anything. Matt, what did you hear?
We got censored.
Oh, did you?
They beat Rafa can attest to it. They beeline to me. They're like, "Hey, you can't be saying this," and I'm like, oh, "All right." Yeah, they beelined it to me like what? 2 times? 1 time? 2 times?
Mhm. Did they censor my flag too?
No. Oh yeah, they got his flag too. It was covering the mark. It was a marketing problem.
So so something new, and we kind of talked about it on the Sunday show. We're gonna kind of have unofficial sponsors for that here. So we're gonna go to our first sponsor as we transition from the Phoenix game to the Miami FC game here. Let's see if Lance is there. Lance, are you back? I hear noise. Lance, are you back? 1, 2, 3. No.
I hear something in the background.
I hear him.
I don't know. Lance, are you
he,
back?
he maybe have some
He may be
video
having the
issues.
Royce issue.
Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna move on. 1 second. We'll see if we can get him in on the next one here. Against the Miami FC, the lineup. Let me see here. Are you back? Are you back, Lance?
Nope.
Alex Grieve.
It's salt, Sam. It's salt.
Andres. That's lost his name.
Paredes.
Diego, Jorge, Nicky, Nelson, Alexis, Amir, Alex Reese, and Richard. On the bench, you had Gomez, Madrandra, Irfif, Dimitri, Muhammad Omar made the bench, Hackinson, and Agadello came out in a 5-3-2 this week with Flores Blanco, Sohe, Soto, Cornelli, Buckmaster, Hernandez, so Nicky and Jorge, Perez, Grieve, and Pacheco. Thoughts on the lineup?
Little more aggressive lineup. You know, I think what we learned from the last game to this game. So we're kind of putting some firepower up front, some speed. Um, like I said, happy to see Nikki back. I think that was something we missed last week. I think his experience. Um, you know, going into this, like I said, Miami's had our number, and like I said, and I'm sure the guys have known it. And I think Yamosa had a kind of maybe watching those last couple of games from the last few years. We knew we had to get a fast start. We had to put pressure on them, and like how me and we talked Harry in the morning, and we had to get goals early on to kind of put these guys away and keep them from hanging around kind of the last few games. So, like I said, initially I thought this was a really good lineup, to kind of get after them.
My thing was, I mean, I know we talked about it and we discussed about the. Are we gonna talk about it later about the number 9?
Yes, later. Yes.
Okay. Well, I mean, to me, you got those two power, those the I want to say power forwards, because Grieve, Lance, and Pacheco up there on top. I mean, I don't see how why they couldn't finish. I mean, they've proven themselves worthy. I mean, I don't know if it's because Miami swarmed it, or I mean, this is a good formation. I don't understand how we couldn't finish.
We can hear you, Lance.
All right.
We can hear you.
There we go.
Lance. There we got Lance. Finally. Can you hear us, Lance?
No.
I guess not.
I can hear
we
you,
can hear
Lance.
you. Oh.
Can you hear us now?
Which
Can
one
you
of
hear?
us? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm just apologizing that I'm the one that you have to hear. Oh, thank you.
Oh,
Oh, wow.
oh.
Don't make it weird, you guys. What's wrong with you people?
No worries.
Just a nice voice.
I don't judge. I don't judge.
All right, Jonathan, will you tell Lance we'll try to hook up with him later, because if he can't hear the discussion.
Yeah, so Harry says if you can't hear the rest of us, we'll just try and hook up later, I guess, in a following, another show sometime. Because if you can't hear the discussion, it's kind of hard to contribute and, make sure you're not repeating anyone or stuff like that. So, A for effort.
Okay.
Sorry
Lance.
about that.
All right. See you, Lance.
All right. See ya.
All righty. Where were we? Formation. We were blaming Matt Matt was blaming the number 9s already, a little early.
No, I mean I think it was great. I think having those two at top was great. I don't know if they just couldn't score. It's like I was telling Rafa earlier. I think Miami just swarmed the box. That's how I'm taking it.
They're good at parking the bus when they get a lead. That's the big thing for them.
Yeah, and Nelson Flores Blanco said that post game. I mean, that's kind of particularly for a team that struggled so far this season. That is like the dream scenario is to actually get a goal and then another. They have a 2-0 lead away from home, and they're able to just defend it. Feels kind of similar, huh? 2 years ago when Miami came here, they go down a man about 10 minutes in, but then they get a goal. And for the rest of the match, they said, okay, well, we can just sit back and defend. As long as we do that, we come away from this with a win. If we're unlucky, maybe a draw if we do happen to concede a goal at some point. But it worked out for them this time. It worked out for them in San Antonio 2 years ago. They were able to come back from SAFC scoring the opening goal against them last year to win 2-1. Miami just has some sort of hold over SAFC. It's weird. And as far as the finishing, it was one of those things that assistant coach Freddie Herrera kind of talked about after the match. Is they're kind of happy with the chances they're creating, but they're not finishing them. And this is actually, I don't know if, well, I shared it with the group last night. I don't know if y'all saw it in the chaos after the match, but Mark Ellis, friend on SanAntonio soccer social media, said every center forward / attacker in that team right now plays like a guy partnering an out and out 9, regardless of who is on the park, because ultimately that's what they all are. Hardworking second type of strikers that are more foils than killers, or the focal point of service. And I mean, it's pretty much true. There's no, I'm sure Rafa will be beating his chest and saying, what have I been telling you all along? There's no, these are all guys who are decent forwards, but if they don't have that target number 9 up top, their effectiveness wanes. They're not always going to be able to do what you need them to do. They're not always going to do their job well enough. So kind of similar to last year, honestly. If you don't have a poacher or a dedicated goal scorer up top, it doesn't matter how many good second strikers you've got.
Yeah, but it's also. Oh, go ahead.
I mean, I was gonna say, there's someone we can call, that's playing somewhere in Sudan that is also Colombian. He maybe want to come back, play
He
for a
ain't coming
Colombian
back.
coach, but I'll just leave it as that. But I was asking you, Jonathan, did they mention anything about maybe why not they didn't take any shots from outside? Because when I was watching, Jorge Hernandez had some shots out, from outside the 18 that he could have really taken it, but he just hesitated, and there was other players that just weren't shooting from the outside.
Awesome to see Thunder Rosa in attendance, according to Robert Castillo.
Well, she needs to come over here to 119.
Okay, just to see, SAFC out of 13 shots, 7 taken outside the box. It's over half of them. So they're taking them, and I recall 1 or 2 where they just were not on target. And this, I think, is one of the issues with SAFC is I feel like so many of the shots are either off target, sometimes way off target, or they're right down the throat of the goalkeeper. You need a happy medium. I mean, think of the goal that Alex Cronali actually scored. We haven't really done the little play-by-play of all the goals and everything, but in all this doom and gloom talk of SAFC, Alex Cronali did score a goal off of a header or a cross from Luke Hawkinson from the right. And if you notice, that was placed sort of in that bottom left corner, and the goalkeeper tries to reach it but can't quite get there. But so many of the shots, like I said, are either way off target or they're right down the throat of, in this case, Bill Hamid. I mean, he's an experienced goalkeeper. Even if he wasn't, I'm sure that's one of the things, for you can maybe correct me here, but I feel like catching is one of those basic things that every goalkeeper should be able to do.
That's textbook. He's on the right spot.
Yeah, but at the same time, I'm thinking, there were so many great chances, but at the same time, I just feel like the sideline was just stop like pushing them back. In a way, it's just I don't know how to explain it, but
you got to give Miami.
They were just so unlucky.
So you got to give Miami credit for their defensive shape, and if you watch, I was going to say, if you watch their defensive shape, they were closing a lot of the lanes. When you see that offensively, when you do attack, you have to push the ball up quicker. You got to give quicker touches. We didn't see a lot of the overlaps or the little through balls or the one, the give and goes. That's what you need in the final third, especially inside the 18. That'll unbalance that defense, from staying in that shape. And we have, I think, since these last 2 games, we have not done a really good job, creating those chances like that to have easier shots to score. And I think that's something they're really gonna have to fix. But also, when you have a number 9 that can score like a killer up front, he's going to create a lot of attention, and that's why your secondary forwards, which I mentioned, they're the ones that are going to go ahead and put some of those in when needed.
Yeah, but
Can we
most of those shots, I think everybody's trying to do what Jimmy did, and that's something they shouldn't be pushing for. His shot, we can admit that was a good shot, but we don't need a lot of those all the time, and I think that's what they were trying to make up for.
But that's what this team is, though. Who are you crossing into the box for?
We don't have anybody.
There's no size. There's nobody that's got the hairy body, or the big Sam that can fend people off. Agudelo is our biggest one, right?
Pretty much, yeah. And he scored a few in preseason with his head.
But
we literally saw him score in Corpus Christi. I think both of those.
3.
But to me, that's the issue. That's the issue with here. But I want to go back and all credit to Miami FC. But the first goal, and this is going to go to you, Rafa. Dalton Knudsen basically had a tap in after a cross from the left that, in my opinion, Sanchez needs to get to if he's going to go out and get it. If not, because it looked like it was tipped maybe, and it landed in a box where it was a 50-50 ball, and Matt, pre-show was like, Sanchez went after the defense saying, hey, you got to get that. But if you just tip it on a cross and it lands right in the middle of the box, it's a 50-50 ball. It's whoever gets there. To me, I put that on Sanchez. Am I wrong to do that?
Well, before that, if you watched the pre-play before that, who got beat on that play?
I think
and that was Nicky Hernandez.
Nicky on the turn, right? That was the turn.
He defended very poorly on that play.
He had a bad night defensively.
On that play, coach, one thing I always tell my players, when you're defending, you got to learn how to delay the play, and also push them away from the goal. What that poor defendant allowed him. If he defends him well, that cross is not sent in. Maybe he plays the ball back, and then we push out. He got beat on that play by defending poorly. That allowed the cross. Now, granted, Sanchez, maybe he wasn't able to get enough to punch it out high, and that's why it landed on they're in the 6, and they were able to tap it. To tap it in. So, I looked at his angle. It's like I said, it really wasn't much he can do as far as trying to really kind of punch it out. Unless he gets both hands in it, then he can do it. But it all started, and like I said, I always tell my players, the reason why they scoring you is because we're playing bad defense. It's not the goalie's fault. Unless the goalie rolls it to someone or does a bonehead play, then you blame the goalie. So you can't really blame Sanchez on that. It goes back to bad defending. When they scoring you,
that's why
you're not defending well.
And that's where I went. And as soon as that first score hit, he chewed out the whole line.
Yeah,
you could see him chew out the whole line.
But it wasn't the back line's fault, because, and that's where I have a problem with it, is you could see him barking at the line. It wasn't the back line's fault, because it's a 50-50 ball. It's who if the ball lands 6 inches closer to SAFC, it's cleared. But it landed right in the middle of the ball, right in front of Dalton Knudsen, and he did what he's supposed to do and tap it in.
Tap it in, yeah.
But to me, you're right. It goes back to Nicky getting turned around, and poor Nicky, he had a bad day defensively. I don't think anybody can say otherwise here. Was not Nicky's best day defensively. I'll just leave it at that. But to me, that goal set it, and then 3 minutes later, Christian Vasquez across the fields finds the bluish moon player to watch from the Miami FC, Francisco Bonifiglio, who beat Suejo and pretty much had a clear shot on goal. He got it past Sanchez. I know AJ and I was watching it. AJ's like, well, because Sanchez had done it. I was like, no, because basically you're one-on-one with the goalie. unless you hit it right to him, you should be scoring. So I don't fault him on that. My only thought on the first goal was him not getting it out, but
He got a
two
piece of that
defensive
one.
errors. Yeah, 2 defensive errors, 3 minutes apart, and it's a down 2-0. And then right when you think the festivities are over, there was a play. I forget what it was. Penalty
I think
call,
it was a
right?
player down.
Player
No, it was a
down?
player down from Miami that was simulating, I think.
Yeah, the Miami player
Oh, the referee stopped it.
simulated
That's right.
because
go,
they had
Jonathan.
the advantage.
Jonathan's got something he wants to say. I can tell.
So I think my guess, I mean, this is I went back last night and watched sort of the few minutes that concerns it. We haven't said it yet, but I'll go ahead and the cat's out of the bag. Head coach Carlos Llamosa, reigning USL Championship Coach of the Month, gets sent off.
Straight red.
Yes, straight red. Which I mean, I think it's worth putting a pin in here and saying, for all the complaints that Alan Marcina had with the referees, for all the yellow cards he got, I don't know that he ever got sent off. And Carlos Llamosa is a pretty calm guy from what it seems like. So it's strange to
Marcina
see him
did
just
get
sent
sent
straight
off,
off.
but I don't think it was for a straight red. I think it was for a couple of yellow cards.
Yeah, he
for
kept
there,
getting
but-
yellows.
Yeah, he kept.
Oh,
getting
he got
yellows.
plenty of yellows.
But I think there was a couple of times that he did. I know of at least a couple of times he was sent off. But
Marcina was more active there on the sidelines with than with me. Yeah, than Llamosa. We were like shocked, like what the heck?
Yeah, so that's the.
Llamosa went way down to the AR, way outside of his box. Pretty sure he said some stuff.
Well, someone also said he may have, like, not in necessarily an aggressive way, not like a shove or anything, but that he may have touched the assistant referee, which, if you're not allowed to touch the center referee, you're not allowed to touch the assistants, you're not allowed to, like, nope, no physical contact like that. So even if he didn't mean anything by it, you're not supposed to do that. And officially, the red, unless it's changed since last night, officially. Well, it was officially for, quote, foul and abusive language, which is, I mean, well, no, but it's.
Did he say something in Spanish? I mean,
that's my guess. I'm like, maybe he's not as friendly in Spanish. I don't know, but
oh no,
yeah. Anyway, this is a roundabout way of saying, though, I think possibly based on what we saw in the broadcast, in the sort of build up to that, play kept on after this, but at one point Diogo Pacheco got sort of a hand to the face and went down. And so maybe Llamosa's trying to argue, hey, you should have stopped it for a head injury. I'm not sure. That's my best guess. Obviously, we didn't get a chance to interview him last night to maybe ask, on the record or even afterward off the record, like, hey, did you do anything? Like, how was this warranted in your eyes, if at all? And he seemed pretty shocked by it. He was like, wait, you're sending me off for what? Like, what did I do? And obviously you don't want to, but I feel like he would know if he did something that was just a blatant red card.
But you can't leave the box, though. Well, to me, I thought it should have been a yellow card for the incident.
Yeah.
But if there was contact, that's why it was a straight
red. See, the thing is, the Miami coach, he complained too, but he only got a yellow. But he was more. I think he said something foul towards the fourth official, and I was like, well, if you're gonna give Llamosa red, then you need to give the Miami coach red because he did a lot. I mean, his little antics were a lot worse than what Llamosa did. And I'm like,
but if there's contact made, then that's why it's a red card.
Well,
that's the only thing that would justify it being a red.
But here's the thing: the fourth official, if you saw his facial expression, he was not pleased with what it was told to him by the Miami coach. I mean, he was just like pissed and like, well, this guy's gonna get a red. And when we saw the yellow, I'm like, what? It's like, if you're gonna do this to our coach for something that he didn't go but crazy on it, but this guy's kind of with his theatrics, it's like
a little bit more aggressive.
More aggressive. It was just kind of ridiculous. It made it look like the ref made it all by himself, and that's the thing. Kind of hate some of these officials. You make it all about them and not let the teams play. Yes, you have to learn how to manage the game. It's not going to be perfect, but you can't make it all about yourself. And that's what these officials did, especially the center ref. He made it all about him.
I almost wonder if, not that this is necessarily the right approach, but I almost wonder if referees sort of have a higher tolerance now for the verbal abuse that they're getting from both sides. And so maybe they kind of shrug off some of that verbal abuse that they're getting from the Miami coach and probably also SAFC's bench. I mean, again, we know in the past SAFC's bench has given no shortage of verbal feedback to what they think about the referees and what they're doing. So I
Oh, you
almost
should have
wonder
been
if they.
by us.
So I just almost wonder if they kind of shrug some of it off now if they try and ignore it, because they know if they did have a zero tolerance policy, you'd have like an academy coach, having to step up because, the coaches from both sides are giving it to the fourth official, the referees, all that.
Yeah, I mean, you could tell after that call on Umosa, the whole stadium, they turned, on those refs, and it just,
That happens every week.
I was going to
yeah,
say
but
that's
this
not
one was a little
uncommon.
bit different. This one kind of felt a little bit different.
Yeah, because it wasn't really like Garner that he'd get. I mean, I would have given him a yellow. I mean, hey, just get a yellow, go sit down. Now,
I mean,
if he did pushed him or something, bumped him, like, yeah, okay, yeah, it's justified for the red. But the way we were kind of watching is like it didn't garner a red, and hopefully they do appeal it, and hopefully
They
the
will.
USL does. Maybe, like I said, they really need to kind of look at some of these officials, and and I know you have to have thick skin and stuff, but some of this has to be like some of those plays got to be more common sense. Because if he's not being aggressive to you, he's just trying to get something. Just give him a caution, and like I said, he'll go back and sit back on the bench. But I don't think that garnered a red card. It was just like I said, and that's like Matt mentioned, that kind of really soured the fans, and then throughout the stadium, it just kind of made the environment really kind of just bad because, like I said, because of that.
just bring me the Kansas City refs. We'll be all right.
All right, Rafa, we're gonna do our last read here. If you want to do a quick one here, for that here,
Sure,
and then we're gonna transition to
sure.
the what is it? The
U.S.
team
Open
of
Cup,
the decade.
a decade. Oh,
Moving on to our final topic here: team of the decade. Goalkeepers: Matthew Cardoni, Jordan Farr. The only one that I think would be a discussion would be Diego.
he did win goalkeeper of the year.
He did. I mean, at the same time, though, I think picking three goalkeepers would be a little excessive. You have to pick Cardoni just for the fans, for the legend
local
that
legend.
his beard is, and you kind of have to pick Jordan as the title-winning goalkeeper, I think.
No disagreement.
So, yeah, it's unfortunate for Diego, but yeah. And to be fair, he didn't necessarily leave SAFC under the best circumstances either. So I don't know if that plays into it, but yeah.
Probably does.
I'll never forget driving back from Phoenix, and all of a sudden my phone started blowing up, and I'm like, "What the hell is going on?" Yeah. Defenders: Connor Maloney, the Sarge, Mitchell Tainer, Sebastian Igabaga, Greg Cochran, Stephen McCarthy, Carter Manley, Shannon Gomez.
I'm actually not shocked that Ibaga's there. I mean, I think he's been,
He was a
if
lock.
not the best,
Dude,
the best prospect that hit from us. So I'm I was pretty happy to see him up there.
you got Jonathan dumbfounded right there, man.
No, his pants are back.
Who the hell? Who are these people?
Hey, don't disrespect the Czechs. Come on, don't disrespect them.
Are they gonna be part of the fan of the decades?
They
For
would
For
be
real.
part of the decades.
Yeah, Denny would be the fan of the decade. Yeah.
They would. To me, they would be the fan of the decades. I was a little surprised by Shannon being listed. I like Shannon. I think he's a great player, but I struggle finding a key moment that he's had or something. Something that he hasn't really won any major awards. He's represented SanAntonio FC well. He's the only one that I'd kind of nitpick a little bit. For that here. If you guys can pick up, I gotta unlock the door here real quick.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I think the list was great. I know some were mentioned about Kamiri. I think maybe should have been on the list. I don't know who else. Do you put a Garcia? I mean, Garcia did win.
Yeah, Garcia was another one.
Won a title was he was one of the solid defenders too. Had a little falling out towards the end. I think this was kind of a tough one. Yeah.
Yeah. I was a little shocked with Manley. I'm not gonna lie.
Manley has a big goal.
No. Well, that and he was real consistent on his play too. That's the thing with Manley. He was very consistent. Whenever you needed him, even the outside or the inside, he was kind of a Swiss Army knife there when it came to defending. Kind of same thing with Maloney too. I think Maloney and Manley were kind of in the same as far as the roles defensively because they can play multiple areas. I think that's why that's why they're on the list.
What about Kamiri? Any thoughts on Kamiri?
Yeah, I mentioned them.
I think maybe he just wasn't part of the team for long enough, you could maybe argue. Now, there is a counter argument to that, at least one or two, particularly with the forwards. But, yeah, I also looking at it now, I mean, no disrespect to McCarthy. Like, he was part of the, that inaugural team. He sort of set the foundation. Particularly in 2017, he stepped up after Hedrick got injured for a long period of time. I don't know. Maybe Ibiaga just kind of overshadowed him that season. So I don't know. He was part of a really solid defense.
McCarthy had some big goals. The one that speaks to me was against Real Monarchs because I still remember we were at a watch party. We were down or tied, and he scored late. McCarthy to me was one of the first stalwarts, and he was here 2-3 years, right?
3 years, yeah.
3 years. Yeah. So I was happy he was on there because he's one of the OGs for that here as far as that initial group of fan favorites. But to me, you can't argue Connor. You can't argue Mitch. You can't argue Cochran. Can't argue Sebastian Iguaga. The other three, I guess you could probably put a little bit of an argument on for that here. But I thought they did it. Got a pretty good right. Team of the decade midfielders: Pirano, PC, Jorge, Jose, Rafa, and Abu. The only one that's missing, Michael Reed.
I think you just maybe didn't have room for him. You could maybe counter that by saying, well, they had one more defender. But I don't know. To me, I guess he's another one of those that maybe just kind of gets lost in time. He was part of that founding team and all that. Yes, he was one of the leaders on the team that first, I think, 2 years. I guess just maybe never did enough to really stick to endear himself long term.
I think another one was brought up was Pekka. Someone brought up
Becca,
as why
yeah.
he Becca.
But I mean, to me, I think Reed was in Castillo's shadows most of the time. That's just me.
Possibly.
But he was our captain, though. People forget
Yeah,
that.
but
Michael Reed was the captain over
yeah,
Rafa.
but that's what I'm saying. I know, but that's what I'm saying. I think Castillo was like Reed was just in Castillo's shadow most of the time.
So, but and to me, and I know this is probably gonna get me some hate mail. Rafa with the Scorpions, I think, is what people with SAFC remember, because he didn't. Rafa made his career with the bike, with the game-winning goal, with the time with the Scorpions. He was solid with SAFC, and like I said here, he's a legend. Don't get me wrong, for San Antonio soccer, but at least for me, I remember Rafa more as a Scorpion than I do as an SAFC player, and that just might be because I come from both eras, and I know just how good, how pivotal he was with the Scorpions. Where with SAFC, you got towards the end of his career, which was still solid. He still gave everything out. I'll still never forget him fighting FC Tulsa, or the Tulsa Roughnecks at the time in preseason. He was what we needed, but to me, I think Rafa's and this is no slight to Matt Cardoni, but Rafa is San Antonio, one of those San Antonio homegrown picks where you have to have him on the team. Just you have to. If you don't, people will say, hey, this isn't a valid list here. So to me, Mo Abu, one of those silent leaders, done so much and is doing still in the community. Jose, still doing well over in Europe, although hasn't really got much time recently. So we'll see if he's on the move. Jorge, PC kind of fits the Rafa, and then Pirano. You want to talk about a short period of time? Yeah, but his second time around.
Well, there's a tale of two tapes on that. Remember when he came back, he really kind of energized that team
For the title year, right?
for the title
2022
title
team,
run.
Yeah,
Yeah, but then on the start, yeah, that's when the wheels kind of fell off. I think, and that's when we brought Jorge in, which y'all kind of thought, oh, we're gonna have a 1-2 punch here, which like I
And it
said,
just never
it never worked. But the thing is, Pirano did like I said, he did garner a lot of attention. And it was his first time because he ended up going to Europe, just didn't work out there. But when he came on here, and when we needed that, because like I said, we just we were missing something, and he just injected just that little oomph to get us over the hump and make that run. And he was a key member of that, that winning that title at that back end of that season.
And then the final one here, team of the decade forwards: Santiago Patino, Ever Guzman, Sam Adeniran, Tani Oluwasi, and Justin Dillon. I don't know if you can really argue with the top four.
No,
Dillon did a lot of the dirty work. I'll use my inner Royce here. Robert's trying to get banned. I think Jack Barnby was way better than Gallegos.
there's a reason why Gallegos is playing Division One soccer in Europe and not Barby.
Define playing Division One soccer.
He's getting a paycheck.
I mean, he is in Europe. He is in Europe, so hey,
he is
Europe,
of.
USL.
So Dillon gets it over Solianak? You figure if they're gonna run
Or Lucho.
Yeah, well,
that's what he's saying. Solianak. I mean, like I said in the Fancast group text, I think it's just that you had sort of essentially half a season with 2020, half a season with the latter half of 2024, and he was, even then, he was kind of a bright spot in a dark season. Let's be honest, SAFC's darkest season. So it's maybe that kind of drags him down a little bit there. And even 2020 to an extent, he was solid in the regular season, but obviously that shortened regular season and then in the playoffs ended on a real low note. So maybe that drags him down there too. It's unfortunate for him. I mean, he was a good guy, had obviously a lot of iconic, very quick goals, mostly for the speed. But yeah, unfortunately, he misses out. And like you said, those first four, it's kind of hard to really argue against any of them. Dylan's the only one. Like you said, he did a lot of that dirty work, and he did that for 2.5, 3 years. So just in terms of who had a bigger contribution over the course of the decade, yeah, that's probably right.
But out of these five, four of those there were your top scorers for the season. I think that's the big difference. They were and they were in the double digits too as well. So and then, what do you say about Patino, Mr. October? It's the soccer version of it. I mean, the magic he did in that playoff run. I mean, I don't will we ever see that again. It's tough. Like I said, we'll find he's gonna have to find out in the future. But also like what Sam Adidrin did just to be on loan, and he just made us our team a more deadly team with Patino up front. Like I said, we had the two best forwards in the league. It was just like a 1-2 punch. And then Tani, you see what Tani's doing. He's done a lot of great things. He's now with the Canadian national team. He scored a goal on the U.S. I'm sure that's the highlight for him.
Hold on, say that one more time.
He scored a goal against the U.S. and the League of Nations. I mean, he did. I mean, get some nice goal. I mean, but the thing is, he's gone to big things. He's really made a name for himself. Every Guzman, yeah, and Everett Guzman, like I said, he had a great season when he was here too. So, but like I said, Dylan. I mean, you can put a case for Lucho, even Nacho too, maybe too. But I think Dylan did a lot of the dirty work. And then the thing is, he was a hustler. He really, and he was like a real, like I said,
that's a good point too.
Yeah. Nathan, I forgot Nathan too. Nathan could have also been on the list, but I think maybe because of the timing too, maybe that's probably why. But but this, I think that for four of them, yeah, for sure. Dylan, I know he may have some, maybe others have some opinion, but I think he it's well deserving because he did a lot. Like I said, when you have a four like him, he did a lot of the dirty work for us.
Would I be bad to inject tear pack?
Yeah.
A little bit.
He didn't really do much.
To me, the one person, and we know why he's not on the list, is Billy Forbes. Billy Forbes would be one that.
No.
if we're just
talent wise,
play on the field,
talent wise,
there are still people in San Antonio that love Billy Forbes, and I'm not saying that in a negative way, but he was released. We're not going to go into the details of possibly why he was released, or along those lines. He was released. He had a great one season. Went to Phoenix, struggled, quit on the team, came back to San Antonio next year, left half a season. But to me, he's one of those that, if he didn't have the baggage, would have been on the list for that here. But
yeah, I'll just chime in here for really quickly. I think it says something that, as far as I can recall, he is the only one who has ever had a sort of the team has parted ways with insert player here. I think he's the only one where they just do a simple 1 or 2 sentences saying he's been released, and it's not we thank him for his contribution. No, it was just we've parted ways, we're done. That was it. And I think the brevity of that speaks volumes, ironically. So just that says everything.
To be fair, there was the incident here. There was an incident where he abandoned his team in Portland with Phoenix Rising when they were playing Timbers 2. He didn't want to play, or there was a situation where basically he walked out on the team and never played for him again. And like I said here, Billy's done a lot of good for the community, but unfortunately, there is the baggage that comes with Billy Forbes. But to me, he is part of that team of decade discussion because he is a main part of San Antonio soccer going back to the Scorpions and helping bridge over to San Antonio FC. Go ahead, John.
See again though, you kind of made that argument with Rafa, but I feel like Rafa Castillo had more than enough. Yeah, like you said, a solid career with San Antonio FC.
Mhm.
Billy, I don't think really had that. You know, the sentiment for him is mostly
the
based
first
off of
goal.
what he
He
did
had
with
the
the
first
Scorpions.
goal. The first goal
He had
in
the first goal.
RGB.
In
We won that
he
game.
had the one goal in RGB. Wow.
Dude, that is a big
That's
thing
one
for
goal.
San Antonio to win the home
One goal.
opener in San Antonio. Do you realize how many goals he had, right?
All I
He had a
remember is
total of
mostly
13 goals with San Antonio FC
is it that many?
in
I mean,
44
he
games,
had
yes.
he had a really strong start to 2017, and then it kind
He
of
fell off.
tailed
yeah.
off. It felt like so.
But no, he had,
I mean, a
10
good
goals
start
in
there.
2017, and then he added 3 more in 23 and 3. He had 13 goals, 3 assists, in 44 games, which is not great, but it's not horrible. And he had some big goals, winning the first match in RGV and HEB Park.
Clearly,
as a
this means a
supporter,
lot to you and not necessarily to
it
me.
meant a hell of a lot to me because
And how many people actually remember it?
I don't care. I talk shit to.
well-
I still talk shit to Edson about us winning the home opener. I'm talking shit to the people in Rhode Island about us wrecking home openers. We just wrecked Oakland's
Harry?
home opener.
Well, the highlights for
Move on
those two
from the
games
past.
was him.
Good grief.
Was Billy
Dude, that's a
scoring
big
that goal and getting mooned at the tailgate there by the RGV fans,
Yes.
Oh.
and then him getting sent to jail. But and then those are the two highlights there at HEB Park.
Robert mentions Marcus Epps.
Oh.
No,
Yeah.
decent for the season he was there.
I thought he was
but
disappointing with San Antonio. Now he's played well since then, but with San Antonio, and part of it I don't think was on him. I just don't think we played a system that matched what he could do.
Mhm.
Wasn't it his ego?
No.
No, it was just a bad. He didn't fit the system.
Anyway,
He probably would fit the system now. If he was in this system, he probably would fit well with the way Yamosa plays compared to what Marcina did.
So to kind of summarize this podcast, Harry remembers Billy Forbes in a lot greater light than Jonathan Jack does. That goal in RGB opening up HEB is a big deal to Harry, and
that's what it is. You're counting that as 10 goals right there. I figured it out.
All right. Doesn't take away from the fact, but we'll roll with that. We got to get out of here because even though Royce isn't here, he is in Vegas, and what happens in Vegas or what happens on the podcast stays on the podcast. But I do want to make sure that we try to keep it around the hour-ish for when he's on his flight back, or I'm sure he might be listening now. There's nothing to do in Vegas. But just to kind of recap: goalkeeper Cardone, Farr, forwards Patino, Guzman, Adeniran, Tanny, Justin. Midfielders Prano, PC, Jorge, Jose, Rafa, Abu. Defenders Maloney, Tainer, Sebastian, or Seba Igbaga, Greg Cochran, McCarthy, Carter Manley, and Shannon Gomez for that here. So it's been a fun 10 years, or I guess we're still in our 10th year. Coming off of 2 disappointing home results. Jonathan, you're heading up where their next match is. Can you tell us a little bit where that next match is?
Yeah, so against Union Omaha, League One team, for anyone who doesn't know, it's not going to be everyone can breathe a sigh of relief here. It won't be at their usual stadium. It won't be at Warner Field, Warner Park, whatever they call it. It will be at Caniglia Field on the campus of University of Nebraska in Omaha. looks like it's about a 3,000 seat stadium. I think that does include some like standing room or bring your own chair or something like that. But yeah, I admittedly I haven't gotten to look into it too much yet. Although it does look like Omaha's had a bit of a slower start to the season. 1 win, 2 losses so far. Now, for what it's worth, though, they are also reigning League One champions. So, depending on what pieces are still around from that, could also be dangerous. Could be maybe a sleeping giant there. You never know if maybe one or two of them have started the season maybe with a little injury or something, and they might see this as a chance to finally bring them back. But yeah, it should be an interesting one, especially now that SAFC's had Phoenix. The loss to Phoenix was a bit of a blip. A loss against Miami, all of a sudden, I think you said earlier, you were saying it's like, I don't remember how exactly you'd phrased it, but you were making it sound fairly serious, like, oh, should we be concerned? I don't know if concern is it yet, but you raised some
Oh, you got to
eyebrows.
be concerned.
You raised some eyebrows. You don't overreact though. You don't want to be that person in the SanAntonio
What is
FC
the-
fan page that's saying Yamosa needs to be fired. Not that
Yeah,
anyone's
I'm
done
not
that.
saying that. Well, no, there is somebody that has said
I'm-
that.
The joke went right over your head, Harry.
But
No, but that's
I
not
think
a
I think
joke.
people tend to forget this is a new team. This is a new coach. This is a new system. We're probably ahead of schedule where we should be at. As far as because this thing, we didn't know how quick this was going to gel. It was kind of synchronous.
But it hasn't gelled though. That's what we're seeing.
Well, to some parts, and plus remember, Tanner hasn't played the last 2 games, and he's a
Yes,
big part of that
Tanner's up,
defense.
yes.
So but still, this is still a learning process. But the thing is, nobody expected us, even the guys that tactics didn't think we were going to do crap, but we're exceeding what we're doing right now. It's like I said, yeah, we're just hit a little bump on the road, but the thing is, it's not hit the panic button. Like I said, nobody expected us to be where we're at right now. They probably in the middle of the pack, but like I said, it's still a work in progress. But like I said, there are some maybe couple pieces that maybe we're missing, and maybe if we do address those, things will change.
At the same time, I mean, you went 4-0 in 1 month. You're gonna have to get humbled sooner, if not later.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd rather take it now. I'm just saying.
You're
I'd
giving
rather
a
take it
pass
now.
to a team that's won 4 games in 2 years. 2 of those games are against SanAntonio FC.
That's
about
just
that.
the bottom. No, I thought about that last night. We still have that curse where we
Now
can't
that
beat the
now
bottom
that
of the
game
league
now
teams.
now that game now that game yeah, you don't give them that game you don't give them a pass.
This is a game. This is
that
a game
you don't give
that
them a
they
pass.
should have won.
Yeah,
This is a game that that they, especially coming off the Phoenix loss, you could. Let's not forget 2 weeks ago, we're like, hey, this team's won 4 in a row. They're going for a USL record. They had Phoenix, they had Miami, and you're like, okay, hey, we should feel pretty confident about going 6-0. They dropped both of those games at home. At home. Yeah. And let's be honest with you, the games weren't as close as they were. Once they got down, they weren't coming back. There's sometimes you can tell in a team where it's just not working for whatever reason. And that was that last night. Once they got that 2-goal lead, they didn't answer before the half. Coach got the red card, and you could just feel it. I wasn't even at the stadium, but just through the TV, you could kind of feel that it was off. And to me, I knew they were losing that game. They just once they got the down 2. Jonathan seems to disagree with me. Bless you, Jonathan.
You guys are blessing me for that. I hope I actually muted like I said I was.
You did.
Okay,
but we
good.
can see you.
Yes, I'm aware.
Bless you.
Bless you.
It's those allergies there in Wichita. But like I said, the game against Phoenix, it's we've had history with them. It's always been a battle with them. The Miami one, there's really no excuse, and they lost. You can tell they lost their confidence, being down 2-0, and they didn't really never recovered, and they really lost a lot of. I think it didn't help losing Lamosa and so forth. They're not really also getting calls. You start to lose confidence, kind of like that being in quicksand. But the thing is that it's still a learning process, and hopefully, like I said, this is maybe a little bump in the road. If you kind of compare from last year was more of the beginning was kind of a disaster because we really couldn't do anything as far as the cohesiveness and so forth. This team, at least, they're putting in the effort. They just have to find a way to build more of the confidence and then and execute. That's the thing. It's finding a way to execute, and that's and getting in that groove again like they did in March.
I mean, okay, you say last year was a disastrous start. Just looking through the results, though, draw, and I know, the result isn't necessarily, for example, you open up with a 2-2 draw against Loudoun, and if we remember, that was kind of with a late Loudoun equalizer. Not ideal, but I mean, it wasn't a terrible start to the season. Draw, win,
But
loss, draw, win. I mean, that's one
but
loss in the
a lot
first
had
7 matches. That's not terrible.
but a
It
lot
was then that
but
the
a
wheels
lot
fell off.
yeah, but a lot of had to do is losing concentration at the very end of the games. That was like what I mean as disasters. Like you had it have it won, and then you end up losing it. You know, this team's not doing that. Losing games late. This is more within. I guess that like that first early second half. You know, that's the thing, and then also there was like last year there was like a battle of two systems that they just couldn't do. This one at least they know what they're supposed to be doing. This one last year was just you can tell that they were just kind of off. That's what I meant, kind of disasters, just not being able to finish games. This one, like I said, if they get beat, they got beat during the games. They're still fighting. They did get a goal back. They just couldn't, like I said, they just couldn't get that second one. They were just being unlucky. But like I said, I'm not too concerned. And people shouldn't hit the panic button right now. Like I said, this is a new coach. This is a new system. You're gonna have a rough patch, but you have to be optimistic. And maybe they're realizing, hey, there are some things that we need to, there's some missing ingredients, and maybe when they get that, that'll turn the corner and really finally everything will start clicking.
So I will say at least we're not Phoenix Rising. Up 2-0 in the 87th minute, ends up losing the game 3-2.
Exactly.
So we're gonna transition to final thoughts. We'll start with you, Jonathan. Thank your parents for letting us do the show with you tonight.
Mike looks relaxed.
Yeah. Now that see, once they left the room, I was like, okay, well now I can do a normal camera angle, and now they're back, so I gotta. But yeah, I guess I'll just say, again, after 2 losses in a row, you raise some eyebrows, but the sky is not falling. Like, luckily, SAFC had a good start to the season, and this is maybe a conversation to think about over the next few weeks, month, two. There were questions when Yomosa came in. Okay, he's never been a head coach before. Is he going to be able to handle this? How is he going to make this step up? And it seems like with over a decade of assistant coaching experience, he was able to make the jump pretty well, I'd say. The question is, though, just like he hadn't been a head coach yet, other coaches had not seen him as a head coach yet, didn't necessarily know what he was going to be doing. Maybe I wonder if coaches are starting to figure out some of the cracks in SAFC's armor, some of the ways that they can exploit this style of SAFC's. So, again, there are questions to be asked, eyebrows to be raised, but it's not the end of the world yet. We'll see how SAFC responds on Tuesday. I mean, obviously it's a different competition, but you don't want to lose 3 in a row. That's all of a sudden it just starts snowballing, and then you have a week until your next match, sure, but you don't want to let it snowball too much. So other than that, excited to experience Omaha, their atmosphere, meet some of their people there, and just explore Nebraska for the first time ever, I guess, just on a personal note. So,
Matt, this is where I get a pick on you a little bit. How was your morning? Me and you, how'd they do well today?
Fucking lost to the damn Looney Tunes. Dude, I turned it off after that equalizer. I was like, yeah, this ain't it. I'm gonna go chill out.
Manchester was red, but
But
not red because of beating Man City. It was red by how bad Newcastle destroyed them.
but I
4-1.
mean, after that game, me and Rafa and Junior hit on my Margies, and I'm like, you know what? Is there any games on? And I was like, oh, let's go watch the Dynamo for a little bit. That one pissed me off just as much too. So you can't. None of my teams were doing great
I
this week.
almost wore my Surge jersey from 2023. Speaking of which, when are you going to pick up our Surge jerseys?
I'm going on the 26th.
Okay.
I'll be there for Austin versus Houston. Yeah, that'll be the game
in
I'll be
Austin
at. No, in Houston.
In Houston.
So I'll be there for that game. Hopefully that
The
goes well.
broccoli.
But I would like to thank everybody. Oh, go ahead.
You want to know who took a beat down too? Austin FC last night. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I saw that. That was bad. All over a field mouse. I saw that too. They stopped getting play for a field mouse. But yeah, I mean, I've known some of the people who are in the group chat on Facebook. Y'all see me try to keep the positivity up after each game, and I will always still thank everybody for hitting up the tailgates, joining us in the Barrio 210 section. The more come out, the more they enjoy. That's just what we're just pushing forward. Keep the good vibes and keep everything going. So. The next home game, not the 23rd, but the following Saturday, we should have. I think we're keeping this pinata tradition going because, from what I heard, they won another one.
Whoa! Hold on. You've had the pinata the last 2 games.
Yeah.
And what are the results of the last 2 games?
So you're gonna tell me no?
2 big crowds.
You're blaming the pinata?
You can't say it's a tradition when they've lost two games, dude.
Yeah, we don't have to skip it. Sorry, May 10th against the Roots.
So hold up. So let's put it this way. I'll leave it on this, and I know some of the guys who were wanting to get the pinata too are in the chat. So I'm gonna put this: if they win on Wednesday because we didn't do a pinata, then that might be saying
it's
something.
It's not here. To be fair,
well,
you won't be able to do it until the Colorado Springs game.
The 23rd.
But I'm saying, still on the 23rd.
Well, even better, we just could tell and get on top of the Thousand Oaks Ridge and just toss the candy. There you go.
Dude, oh my God, that walk is treacherous. But like I said, I'd like to thank everybody and thank the reps for coming out and hanging out with us. I thought that was pretty special. Say again?
Chubba Hut? Is that how you pronounce it?
No. The Chiba Hut didn't make it last night, but our
Taylor
ticket reps were.
Taylor,
everybody was hanging out with us.
Shout out to them.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good, pretty awesome that they were hanging out with us at the tailgate. Hope they can do it a little bit more, but it's up to their discretion. But yeah, it was a pretty good tailgate. It was pretty the last 2 we've had, or the last 3 that we've had. So the more we just keep it up, I mean, just keep the vibes going.
Rafa, your final thoughts?
Just like I said, hopefully we can bounce back from this. Like I said, every team goes through a little rough patch, but I think we'll bounce back. Hopefully we can get a win at Omaha, continue on in the Open Cup, because we're actually going to play Omaha again for the Jaeger Cup, which is kind of ironic. We're playing them for 2 cups in San Antonio, so we're playing them twice for 2 cups. And then hopefully the momentum, hopefully winning that game, going against Colorado, which they haven't beaten us in quite some time. Hopefully it'll remain that way. Like I said, it'll be a good bounce back game to get back to, even though your muscle won't be at that one, but I think we can. Hopefully, the players will be inspired for that and get 3 points against them. And then, like I said, thanks to everyone, at the tailgates, being out there, working hard, cooking the food, bringing everything, the items and so forth, and also all the fans out there. They're at Body of 210. Like I said, they brought the noise last night, and it was a fun atmosphere. And hopefully, I'll have some new tifos coming out. I think preview them to a couple. Go ahead. Go
you,
ahead.
did you see it too?
What?
Did you see the push notification
No.
about Holland?
Oh, hold on.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, damn. Well, I mean, if that happens,
Hey,
we probably we'll win 5 Champions Leagues in a row after this year.
that's crazy.
I told you that it might happen. But anyways,
Well,
but also,
Mbappe's going to be setting for his foul. That was a nasty foul.
yeah,
Yeah.
No,
yeah,
no offense. I know you're a
yeah.
Real Madrid fan,
Well,
but that was nasty.
the other guy did it too. That was when he did it to Vinny too. That there was
I
a
need a
kind of
mic check reaction on that one because that's
so.
a crazy notification.
But I do want to give a shout out to, like I said, to our area high schools teams, to Davenport, to Wimberley, and the Southwest. I know they fell a game short, but they did make the San Antonio very proud. So, like I said, we're proud of them. You know, the future looks bright. For San Antonio soccer. Hopefully, next year we'll have multiple teams lifting some trophies. And like I said, and also tomorrow I'll be on the 50/50 podcast with a recap for 6A. And then hopefully we'll start our championship series with some of the championship coaches, and then talk about the fiasco that happened, winning the title, and then 2 hours later getting it taken away. So we'll talk more about that on tomorrow's episode.
And we are going to try to have a high school show at some point.
Yeah, too. Yeah.
My final thought: want to congratulate my son AJ and his premier team. They advanced out of Directors Cup, beating 2 challenger level teams, which was team above. To be able to advance, they get to go to Austin on the 27th, Austin area on the 27th, and play a team to be determined. And if they do win that, then they could go to state, which would be May 10th, 11th up in Round Rock. So small things, but like I said here, they played well. Like I said here, first time AJ's really made it out of Directors Cup to their here. So congrats to Premier, the 08 team for that here. So I know AJ was pretty excited for that here, although him winning yesterday and then having an early match today because they beat Lone Star 5-1 out of Austin in the challenger level, who finished 3rd up there. So he wanted to celebrate a little bit.
No surprise trip to Killeen.
No, now we're waiting on to see if if somebody's going to get have to forfeit because that does happen.
There's already too many forfeits already.
But no, Jonathan, thanks for hopping on. Matt, thanks for hopping on. Royce, hoping you're bringing the bank home. Rafa, like I said here, thank you. Sorry, Lance, we couldn't get it to work out tonight. We'll have you back on again.
What are you talking about? I had a nice chat with Lance. Not my fault. You guys couldn't be heard.
Also, kind of doing reads in between our sections. I think that's the easiest way to do it. Royce would be proud of us. He won't be proud that we've gone an hour and a half almost, but we had 2 weeks of shows, so if you divide it in half, it works out to the appropriate time for that here. I don't know if we're going to do a pregame show for Omaha, if it because that's what, Wednesday or Tuesday?
Tuesday, 7 p.m.
If you want, I can do it. I work from home Tuesday.
Maybe do a 6 o'clock. Maybe an hour prior to that. We can do a little quick one.
Yeah, we can see. For we may do a little preview
Watch
show.
party.
For it, we could do a watch party. Well, I depend on AJ. Because AJ's got practice from. Usually have to drop him off. Yeah, so may or may not have a show for Tuesday, Saturday morning. I don't know if Royce will be back. I'll see if I can recruit through there here. I don't like Rafa picking because he outpicked me this week here. So he closed the gap up. Dude, I picked. I had
Hey,
not much
Royce
to
is
do.
gonna have to share those sharings for getting him those picks.
I had a 4-game pick, and then it closed up in a hurry. But do want to thank everybody for tuning in. Robert, Sam, Lance, Gabe, 2K6, and Boston Mario and Chris Leha. Thank you for all chiming in and communicating. If you can, please like, subscribe, hit the thumbs up through there. Give ratings wherever you listen to the podcast. But thank you for everybody. Hope everybody has a great day. What's life? We are out.